Ms. Chen, you look exhausted. Are you okay? The student's concern was genuine, but Sarah Chen just smiled and said she was fine. She always said she was fine, even though she'd slept 4 hours, rushed through 7 medication schedules before dawn, and would spend her evening at 3 different hospitals. The other teachers at Riverside High whispered about her. Never takes breaks, never has fun, probably doesn't even have a life outside school. They were wrong. Sarah had 7 lives outside school. 7 former students, all fighting cancer, all depending on her for survival. And today, one of them, Marcus, age 24, her student from 2015, was posting a video that would expose everything Sarah had worked so hard to keep private. If watching Sarah's silent sacrifice hits you as hard as it hits me, take a moment to like and subscribe. It genuinely helps more people discover these stories of hidden strength. Now, back to Sarah, living as an invisible hero at Riverside High. The morning had started like any other Tuesday at Riverside High School in Seattle, Washington. Sarah Chen, 42 years old with black hair pulled into a tight bun, woke at 5:30 a.m. Before her alarm, her body had learned to wake on its internal clock after a decade of the same routine. First stop, the small apartment in Capitol Hill, Marcus Thompson's place. Age 24, leukemia, 3rd relapse. Sarah entered quietly. She had a key for emergencies and found Marcus in bed, thin, pale, but awake. Morning meds, Sarah said, opening the plastic pill organizer. 7 different pills, precise timing, balancing side effects. Marcus's hands shook too much, so Sarah held the water, administered each pill individually. "Thanks, Ms. Chen," Marcus whispered. "You know you don't have to do this." "I know. But I do it anyway." Second stop, Fremont, Emma Rodriguez. Age 23, breast cancer. Chemo cycle, 4 to 6. Sarah made breakfast, oatmeal, banana, protein, because Emma got nauseous after meds and couldn't take them on an empty stomach. Third stop, Ballard, Josh Kim. Age 26, brain tumor, radiation treatment. Sarah just checked in, made sure Josh was still breathing while he played video games on his computer. 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th. Sarah finished at 7:15, just in time to make it to Riverside High. Same routine every morning for 5 years. 7 former students, all under 25, all fighting cancer, all unable to survive without Sarah. Riverside High was one of Seattle's largest public high schools, having 800 students. Diverse student body, Asian, Hispanic, Black, white, a mix of wealthy and poor. Sarah had taught English there for 15 years, 11th grade American literature. When she arrived at the teacher's lounge, 7:45, right on time, other teachers were drinking coffee, making weekend plans, sharing vacation photos. "Sarah, you finally made it," called Jessica Martinez, math teacher. "You coming to happy hour tomorrow night? The whole English department's going." "I can't," Sarah said automatically. "I have plans," Jessica rolled her eyes. "You always have plans. I've been here 15 years, and I've never seen you at a single social event." "I'm busy." "Busy with what? Do you have cats? A secret love life?" Mark Thompson, history teacher, teased. Sarah smiled, small, tired, and didn't answer. She grabbed her coffee, black, no milk or sugar, faster, and walked to her classroom. In the hallway, students flowed past, full of that teenage energy. Sarah smiled at some, waved at others, but mostly remained invisible. An older teacher, not cool or fun, just someone doing her job. Her classroom was number 308, at the end of the English corridor. When Sarah opened the door, familiar smells greeted her. Books, paper, old wood, 30 student desks, literature posters on the walls, Gatsby, To Kill a Mockingbird, The Scarlet Letter. When first period started, 8 hours sharp, Sarah was already exhausted. 4 hours of sleep and the morning rounds had worn her down. But she taught the lesson, discussed Steinbeck's Of Mice and Men, answered students' questions, reviewed essays. One student, Chen, no relation but same last name, looked at Sarah's face. "Ms. Chen, you look exhausted. Are you okay?" "I'm fine," Sarah said automatically. "Just stayed up late grading." But Mia wasn't convinced. She looked at her teacher, 40s, but looked 60. Dark circles under her eyes, pale skin, gray streaks in her hair appearing early. Something was going on. But students didn't ask. Adults handled their own problems, right? Lunch period at Riverside's cafeteria was cacophony. 1,800 students, 3 lunch periods, too much noise. Teachers ate in the teacher's lounge, separate, quieter. Sarah went to the microwave, leftover rice and vegetables from yesterday. "Third time this week, same meal." Mark noticed. "Sarah, seriously, you eat the same thing every day. Don't you ever want to try something new?" "It's cheap, easy, works," Jessica interjected. "But you're not living, you're just surviving." "When's the last time you did something for yourself?" Sarah didn't answer. Because doing something for yourself was a luxury. And Sarah didn't have time for luxuries. Her phone buzzed. Text from Marcus. "Meds making me nauseous again. Need help?" Sarah stood. "Sorry, I have to go." "Where?" Jessica asked. "Lunch period isn't over yet." "Emergency." Eyes rolled again. Sarah always had emergencies. Nobody knew that this emergency was a 24-year-old former student trying not to vomit from chemotherapy side effects. After school, 3:30, final bell, Sarah left immediately. Other teachers lingered, chatted, did paperwork. Sarah was already in her car, 15-year-old Honda Civic, 200,000 miles, but still running. The hospital rounds began. Swedish Medical Center, Emma's chemo appointment. University of Washington Medical Center, Josh's radiation. Harborview, Marcus's urgent care, dehydration, hospital admission. By 10 p.m., Sarah was rotating through 3 hospitals, holding hands, picking up medications, talking to nurses, arguing with insurance. When she got home, her own small studio apartment, cheap place in Capitol Hill, it was midnight. 4 hours of sleep. Then start again. This was Sarah Chen's life for 10 years. And nobody knew. Thursday morning started differently. Sarah woke at 5:30 as usual, started her medication rounds. But when she reached Marcus, he'd been admitted to the hospital last night. Something had changed. Marcus was sitting up in bed, holding his phone, crying. "Marcus, what happened? Is it pain?" "No." He shook his head. "Ms. Chen, I'm sorry. I did something." Sarah's heart dropped. "What did you do?" "I posted a video. On TikTok. About you. About all of you. How you've been taking care of 7 people for 10 years. How you come every morning. How you didn't abandon us." "Marcus, no. I'm sorry." "I know you wanted to keep it private. But people need to know. They need to know what you've done." Sarah took the phone, opened the video. Marcus's tired face filled the screen. In a hospital bed, IVs in his arm. "My name is Marcus Thompson. I'm 24 years old and I have leukemia. 3rd time. My family abandoned me. My insurance ran out, and I had no reason to be alive. Until Ms. Sarah Chen, my high school English teacher, started coming every day. For 10 years. My meds, my meals, my doctor appointments. It's not just me. There are 7 of us. All her former students. All cancer. All of us would be dead without Ms. Chen." The video continued. Emma appeared, then Josh, then the others. 7 faces, 7 stories, 7 times Sarah Chen had saved their lives. The video had been posted 10 hours ago. 2 million views. 500,000 likes. It had gone viral. Sarah's phone started going crazy. Messages, calls, notifications. From Riverside High. Principal Carson. District Superintendent. Press. Marcus. Sarah said quietly. What have you done? The right thing. When she arrived at school that morning, 7:45, late, first time in 15 years, everything had changed. The parking lot was full of news cameras, reporters, parents. Sarah sat in her car, afraid to get out. Her phone rang. Principal Carson. Sarah, come to my office. Now, Principal Carson was in his 50s, well-meaning but bureaucratic. He sat in his office, tablet in front of him, Marcus's video playing. Sarah? Is all of this true? Yes. You've been caring for 7 cancer patients for 10 years? Yes. Why didn't you tell me? Because it's personal. Because of my students' privacy. Because I didn't want attention. Carson sighed. Sarah, this is incredible. But it's also concerning. Burnout. Conflict of interest. If I'd known your students were sick. Former students. They all graduated. Still, the district is concerned. The media is concerned. Parents are asking questions. What kind of questions? Are you neglecting current students by caring for these former ones? Are the boundaries appropriate? Is burnout affecting your teaching ability? Sarah's hands clenched into fists. I've been teaching for 15 years. My performance reviews are excellent. I've never missed a single day. I know. But perception matters. And the perception is that you're too exhausted to do your job. Then perception is wrong. Carson paused. Sarah, I'm trying to defend you. But the video is out there. Everyone knows. And some people are worried about your health. I'm fine. You sleep 4 hours. You manage 7 hospital rounds. One of your own students said you look exhausted. Sarah, that's not fine. Tears came. First time crying at work in 10 years. I can't abandon them. There's nobody else. Their families left them. They have no insurance. If I leave, they die. That's not your responsibility. Then whose? Who cares about poor young adults? Who reminds them to take their meds? Who holds their hands during hospital waits? Your system doesn't care, so I do. Carson was silent. Finally, take a week off, paid, think. Take care of yourself. Then we'll talk. But Sarah couldn't take a week off because 7 people were waiting for her. That afternoon, when Sarah returned to school, she had to check on Marcus. His dehydration was worsening. A surprise was waiting. In classroom 308, 30 students were sitting. But not just her class, students from other classes, people who didn't know Sarah, all waiting. Ms. Chen, Mia stood up. We saw the video. All of us saw it. And we're sorry. Why are you sorry? Because we just saw you as an old, boring teacher. We never asked. We never cared. But you're a hero. Other students stood, applauded. Sarah felt mixed, proud, ashamed, exposed, but also seen. I'm not a hero, she said quietly. I just think someone should care. That evening, Sarah did her usual rounds. 7 stops, 7 former students, 7 reasons to keep living. But at each stop, there was something new. Flowers, food, cards. At Marcus's, food delivery from a local restaurant. Free note saying, for Ms. Chen's heroes. At Emma's, a neighbor had left a gift basket. I heard about you. Thank you for caring about others too. At Josh's anonymous cash donation, envelope saying, keep fighting. Someone was paying attention. Many people. Friday morning, Riverside High held a special assembly. The entire school, 1,800 students, 100 staff, parents, press, gathered in the gymnasium, and on stage stood 7 people. 7 former students, some in wheelchairs, some with IV stands, all alive. Marcus approached the microphone. My name is Marcus Thompson, Riverside class of 2015. And without Ms. Sarah Chen, I wouldn't be here today. One by one, 7 former students spoke. 7 stories, 7 times Sarah Chen hadn't said no. Then the district superintendent approached the microphone. Sarah Chen has been teaching for 15 years. But today we're celebrating something different. A woman who showed 7 young people that life is worth living, that someone cares, that someone will stay. Standing ovation lasted 5 minutes. But the biggest surprise came next. From the assembled crowd, Jessica Martinez, the math teacher who'd invited Sarah to happy hour, approached the microphone. As staff, we started a fund, the Sarah Chen Support Fund, to help with Sarah's rounds, meal deliveries, transportation, medical expenses. In one day, we raised $50,000, Sarah cried, openly, unashamedly, 10 years of exhaustion releasing, and 7 former students, her 7 reasons, her 7 lives, surrounded her on stage, held her hands, did what she'd kept doing. Don't give up. But the story wasn't quite over, because 3 months later, something changed that would transform not just Sarah's life, but the lives of countless others. The $50,000 fund had grown to $200,000. Local businesses donated. National news picked up the story, and a healthcare nonprofit called Sarah with a proposal. Ms. Chen, we want to create a program, the Young Adult Cancer Support Network, based on your model, pairing young cancer patients with mentors who can help with daily care, medication management, emotional support. Would you help us build it? Sarah sat in her small apartment, surrounded by medication schedules and hospital visiting hours, and realized she'd been doing this alone for 10 years. But she didn't have to anymore. 6 months later, the program launched. 50 mentors, trained by Sarah, each caring for 2 young adults with cancer. Coordinated medical support, financial assistance, emotional counseling, everything Sarah had been providing alone, now systematized, supported, sustainable. And Sarah? She still did her rounds, still visited Marcus, Emma, Josh, and the others. But now she had help. Meal delivery services donated food. Transportation companies provided free rides to appointments. A team of nurses volunteered for medication management. For the first time in 10 years, Sarah slept more than 4 hours. Not because she cared less, but because she wasn't alone anymore. At Riverside High, students saw their teacher differently now. Not as old or boring, but as someone who had shown them what love actually looked like. Not dramatic or showy, but quiet, persistent, refusing to give up even when nobody was watching. Mia Chen, the student who'd first asked if Sarah was okay, started volunteering at the Young Adult Cancer Support Network. So did others. A generation of teenagers learning that heroism wasn't about capes or glory. It was about showing up, every day, even when it was hard. 2 years after Marcus's video, all 7 of Sarah's original students were still alive. Some in remission, some still fighting, but all breathing, all here. All because one teacher had refused to let them face cancer alone. Marcus Thompson, now 26, posted an update video. 2 years ago, I exposed Ms. Chen's secret. Today, I want to share the rest of the story. Because of her example, 150 young adults now have mentors. Because of her sacrifice, a national support network exists. Because of her refusal to give up, hundreds of people are learning what real love looks like. He paused, wiping tears. Ms. Chen taught me English in high school, but she taught me something more important after, that someone always cares. Even when you think you're alone, even when your family leaves, even when insurance runs out, even when death seems certain, someone cares enough to show up. The video ended with 7 people, Sarah's original 7, standing together, healthy enough to stand, alive enough to smile. Sometimes heroes don't wear capes. Sometimes they grade papers at midnight because they spent the evening at hospitals. Sometimes they eat leftover rice for the 3rd time that week because they spent their money on someone else's medication. Sometimes they sleep 4 hours because 24 isn't enough for 7 lives. And sometimes, just sometimes, the world. Notices, Sarah Chen continued, teaching at Riverside High. Continued her rounds, though now with support. Continued showing students that literature mattered, that words had power, that stories could change lives. But her greatest lesson had nothing to do with Steinbeck or Shakespeare. She taught an entire community that caring doesn't require recognition. That sacrifice doesn't need applause. That love is often silent, invisible, exhausting, and absolutely necessary. Sometimes the strongest people are the ones nobody notices until someone does, and then everything changes.